can't hear you, Nick.
Perfect. There we go. Hello, Pam. Thanks for having me on today.
Hi, everybody. We had a bunch of people on and we lost some, but if you're watching the replay, please send us a message anyway. We still get them. So my name's Pam Raposa. I'm the Artistic Director of Theater 444. And I'm so happy to have my friend Nick Bessette here with me, who is also a director. So if there's any directors out there, feel free to pop on and ask questions or comment with us. Talk about your experiences too, because directing is a thing that is different for everybody, I think. And so it's fun to learn different ways people do things. We really are so excited about our 10th season. You just saw our trailer. We are so excited to have our hands on Dear Evan Hansen, and that will be in April. And then one of my very favorite things is Amelie, which is what we're going to be doing right at the beginning of June. And it's sort of not very well known. You may have seen the movie, and it's very similar to that, but it is a musical. And then Dogfight, which is one that I think if you're a theater person, you know. If you're not a theater person, you maybe don't know. Also a movie. Also going to be really, really unique and fun. So we're excited about our 10th year. We've been going since, oh my gosh, 2016. So, and Nick, you were in our first show.
That's right. Way back with Spring Awakening.
Awakening was our first show and you were in it. And so we're so proud of the fact that we're still here 10 years later. And we're looking forward to having a big seasonal party at the end of the year. Probably like in November, we'll have something. We'll get some more information out about that. So, but tonight we're going to talk about directing, and we started this series. Nick's our first guest, and I was going to say victim, but
we'll see how it goes.
And we started a new series called Theater Talk, because we wanted to talk about all the aspects of theater that you maybe don't know exist, or that you do know exist and you don't maybe have a full understanding of what it is. Or maybe you're one of us, you're one of our tech people, and you want to talk about what you do too. Because we always tend to talk about the show or the actors, but we don't talk about all the other things that happen that make it what it is. And I know, like, one of my mentors always said to me, you know, if as a technician, if you don't know I did anything or that I'm even here, then I did my job well. So it's kind of an invisible job. And so we want to talk about all those invisible jobs, and we're going to do this once a month with different areas of technical theater. And we're going to see if we can just get more information out there about what we do, and even drum up some business. If there's something you're interested in trying, we'd love to have new people come and learn things too. So that's another whole part of this. So we're going to start with directing, because that's just what I do. And I knew Nick was a director, so I asked Nick to come on with me. And so we're going to kind of just talk a little bit about directing tonight. So feel free to chime in to the comments, just to tell us things or ask questions. Either way, we'd love to hear what you have to say too. So I wrote some notes, Nick. I'm thinking like maybe we just talk about what is the job of the director? Like, what would you call, if someone said, Nick, what does a director do? Like, what is a job? What would you say?
Well, I think it's different for every type of thing that you are directing, and we can talk more about that. But I think in the simplest terms, we have to take something that's just somewhat dead on a page and bring it to life, and then manage all of the chaos when you have so many different creative people with big personalities and everyone trying to figure out, how do we make this thing feel like it's really happening and it's real, and give the audience an experience that we want them to have.
Yeah. It's sort of
what do you think, Pam?
Yeah, I think it's changed over time. I think that over the years it's changed for me. And for me, I've really tried to stick to my job as the director mostly is to tell the story and make sure the audience gets the story, right? And so I see myself as another set of eyes for my actors. I want them to mess around with the script and try to figure it out, but also they need eyes that are looking at it saying, yeah, that doesn't work, or that this will work better if you do it this way. And so some of it is just knowing what an audience will perceive when they're sitting in the seat, and what are they going to get? What are they emotionally going to feel? How are they, how can we make them feel more of this, that, or the other thing? How can we make them laugh out loud? How can we make them cry? And thinking about how do we set the scene for that, and create that world of the characters in a way that is believable. That's a lot.
Yeah. And I
But
think we have to figure out why we want to tell the story too. What is the core to this? It's not just, oh, this is something that I saw a couple of years ago and I enjoyed it, so let's just throw it out there, right? We have to be really committed to finding the spine of this, and what's the message, what are the emotions here that we need to ring through, because no matter how strange your story is or how different the situations or characters are, there's always some sort of a heart that everyone in the audience can relate to, and it's helping the actors bring that out of themselves and send that straight to the audience so that we're all kind of sharing this special thing.
yeah, that's the magic of theater, right?
Mm,
Is being able to have that moment with the group of people that are in the room right then, and to be able to say, we all sat in the dark and we figured this out together, and we had these feelings together, and then it's gone, and it's completely
yep,
gone, right? And so that's the magic of it.
like my camera there. Okay.
But I also love what you just said, because I remember when I first started directing, I thought my job was to just recreate things that I saw, um, that I liked, just because I liked it. And now I don't look at it that way anymore. I really look at it differently, and I like it for it to be things that maybe I didn't see that I want to explore, or I want it to be something different than what I saw. And I have to really feel it in my heart. Like I don't want to just do things anymore just to do them. I'm at the point now in my career where I like to do things because they're in my heart, and I really love the story. And I know
Yeah.
you do that too.
Yeah. And as you're talking, I'm just thinking that as I've been directing, I think that I've had this bit of a balance that I've been trying to always figure out, between starting with a really clear perspective and an idea of what I want to do and what's important. Because if you don't have that strong conviction, then it becomes really muddled and it becomes chaotic, and the actors get confused and frustration starts and the show's just sort of muddy, right? But you also have to be open to discovering things along the way and letting the cast bring stuff to light that you didn't see, and being willing to just sort of steer it into those directions, right? And let it organically become something that feels natural.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So, what else do directors do besides direct? Because we talked a little bit about this, and I think it really depends on the type of theater that you're doing, right?
Yeah, I think it depends on the type of theater. It depends on your audience. It depends on the circumstances, right? And with community theater, we don't always stick exactly to what the director is supposed to do in a job description, right? Depending on who we can find on a production team, who's suddenly unavailable, right? I mean, there are times when we are tech directors, we are set designers, we are casting agents, right? We are doing the promotions ourselves. There are times when I think we are therapists, right? And cheerleaders, right?
Oh,
Just
for
to sort
sure.
of push everybody through the slumps when it gets stressful and difficult at Hell Week or whatever, right? And just keep everybody reminded why they did this in the first place, and that there was a reason that everyone was either cast or asked to join the team in the first place, right? Because sometimes it can get tough before you get to that audience applause.
Yeah. I have to laugh because I think, a Broadway director has a very different job than a director in a community like ours. We tend to do all. I mean, what if it's got to get done? It's got to get done, and someone's got to do it. And if there isn't somebody to do it, it's us. I just put this picture up because it cracks me up. Because when I directed Shrek, there was nobody that I could find that could do makeup at the level that we needed for Shrek. And so it was me every night. It took us 3 or 4 hours every night just to do Shrek's makeup before we could run. So like there I was, I wasn't in my fancy dress out in the lobby. I was backstage, getting him ready because there was nobody else to do it. And oftentimes we take on all of those roles because it's got to get done, right?
That's right. It takes a village. Sometimes we have to be all the villagers.
Right. It depends, and that's where it comes in. Like, if you are somebody that would love to be part of it, we would love to have more help and support, because a lot of times we're doing a lot more than, I've done costumes before, I've done props, I've done makeup, I've done choreography, and, all the things, because we don't often have a full group of support staff to help us at this level.
Yeah. And I know you and I are both so appreciative of the really talented people we've had work behind the scenes on our tech teams, because the more that we can free ourselves to just do the job of directing, the more thoroughly we can do it, right?
Yes.
And having other people on the team, they can really work magic, right? There's a reason I am not a lighting designer, right? But we know some really great lighting designers who can just sort of bring vague vision, right? I just needed to dial down a little here and feel warm and fuzzy, right? Can you do that? Right? And then all of a sudden, the most magical thing will appear on stage. So the people we get have been amazing, and it would be really great to have some more people come and join us. And even if they don't know right away how to do these things, we've got wonderful mentors. We are willing to help coach people and bring them into those positions. So
sorry,
it would be really exciting.
Falling off. I keep getting dings because I can't turn this off. But this is making me think about working with a team, and I know that's on our list too, about talking about what do we need to do in order to work with a team of people. And oftentimes, the larger the musical, the larger the team.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Sure. I think one of the keys, which is going to sound really obvious, but it isn't, is just to be really organized. I think the pre-production work before you even start casting, before you even have rehearsals, to really have not just a team put together and a way to meet and touch base with this team, but clear expectations on what you want them to do, right? I think sometimes the more you give, right, here's a template of a few designs of what I think the costume should look like. You play within this paradigm, right? But here's an idea. I've had costumers just say, thank you. So often I'm just told, find a costume, get me a blue dress, right? And what does that mean, right? What does it look like? What is this person's level of class in society? What time period? All these different things, right? So without having to dictate and control every little moment, having a really clear set of what you want people to do makes it so much easier on them. And I think a lot of people get into directing because they have passion and they have a big idea of what they want overall to see, but they haven't really thought of how to be organized and communicate this stuff.
Yeah, the details are big. I mean, it's a big deal. And I'm always so amazed at when we do have a staff to be able to, clarity is the key, right? Being super clear about what the vision is of the whole thing, and then letting those people create within that construct of that vision, right? And
exactly.
So I'm always amazed at what they can come up with. Oftentimes things I haven't even thought of sometimes come up, and it's like just the coolest thing. I always say theater is a team sport.
Yes.
It really is. It's collaborative. And the more collaborative it can be, the better it is, because we have so many creative minds. And we're so lucky to be in this area. I think we have tons of creative folks in this area. And I think it's a great place to be a creative person because of the area, the talent that is local around here. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And while you were mentioning that, it made me think that I think directors have to be just as clear and specific with their actors
Ah,
too. I think there are a lot of directors out there who are incredibly smart and passionate about the pieces they pick, and they can tell you all kinds of background. And then sometimes as an actor, you think, okay, but what do I do? I get that that's the theory and the intention and the analysis, but what am I doing on stage, right? And that can be a tricky thing sometimes to take all of the background and all of the theoretical concepts and say, okay, try something like this, or here's something actionable to actually accomplish on stage, while again giving actors some room to breathe and play and make it their own.
yeah. And sometimes that's hard for them. And I
Mm-hmm.
know I've had people tell me before, I need I need you to, like you just said, like I need you to tell me what to do, where to walk. And I just really hesitate to do that. When I first started directing, I was doing that. I was telling them how I wanted them to say things, and doing some of that. And as I've grown and learned how to do this better, I realize that the more they bring of themselves into that process, the better it is. And
Mm-hmm.
so I always say, I just need you to play around. It's called a play for a reason, right? And we need you to play and find what fits and what works. And I'll tell you if it doesn't.
And
Right?
that's a huge piece too, right? I think something that you are very good at as a director, right, is making sure your actors feel taken care of and that they trust you in order to take certain leaps. I mean, we've both been on stage. We know there it's very vulnerable to be up there as an actor. You
Yeah.
are putting yourself out there. The director's like in the back of the room somewhere during showtime, right?
Right.
And so we have to make sure that they feel safe enough to take these risks and to do things, and that we're not letting them get up there and look foolish. That anything we tell them to do that isn't working, we'll change it. If they're obviously uncomfortable on stage, then it's our job to redesign something, even if we really wanted in our heads this concept of what they're going to do. It's not working, right? We have to find something that
I think
fits and works for them.
that's a really good point. Trust is a big thing, a big, big, big thing. Um, and like I was saying before, I just lost my train of thought. Um, I lost my train of thought. Trust is a thing.
I trust that it'll come back, Pam. So,
Maybe it will come back around, I'm sure. But um, oh, I know what it was. We have to be the eyes, right? We have to be the eyes out in front that is going to say to them, this is working or this is not working, and then having them trust that we're going to let them not go out there looking foolish or looking
mm-hmm.
in the wrong costume or in the wrong whatever or looking terrible on stage. That's the most vulnerable part about it, especially when you have really interesting characters or things that are really out there, characters in their underwear or there's
Yep.
a lot of things like that happen on stage, and they need us to make sure that they look good up there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think sometimes to be solid enough to give a little pushback when needed, right? That can be a really tough part of the job, is to tell people no, or right, or to stand your ground on certain things, because again, when actors are being vulnerable and putting themselves up there, it can be a really emotional process, but we have to have the courage sometimes to again protect them on stage, sometimes from themselves, and
Yeah.
say, you tried something, it didn't work. I mean, hopefully we say it with a little more tact than that, right? But keep them from doing that in front of an audience where the whole audience, has this kind of recoil and reaction, and
Yeah.
respect that they're making choices and be excited about that, but maybe figure out how to make what they are intending actually come across the way they want it to. And that
Yeah.
goes to being
Yeah.
the set of eyes.
Yeah. And I often tell them, like, it's not about it's often more about, did I receive the message correctly? Like,
Mm,
did I get what you were putting down? Because if you were wanting me to feel this way, That's not how I felt when I watched it.
Exactly. Right.
So what are you trying to tell me right now? And having that conversation and being able to, that seems to go best. At least that's what I've learned over time, I think, is to be able to kind of really relay it to, I'm not getting the message that I think you're intending to come across. And how could we better make that clear for the audience?
Yeah.
That clarity piece is just huge. So for me anyway.
Yeah,
What's
and I
your,
like what you're saying. Sometimes it's through questions, right? I
yeah,
mean, we tend to think of a director as just giving orders, right? And directions all the time. But sometimes it's about just sort of sifting through a piece together, or just kind of, figuring out where someone's coming from and then sort of digging to the heart of that and finding the right questions until they all of a sudden have a breakthrough and go, ooh, I have an idea, and say, okay, go with it. Let's see how it works. I'll tell you how it reads, right? And
right,
let it
right.
happen.
Yeah. Yes, it is collaborative. It's not necessarily us telling everybody what to do. It is collaborative. And so that's a whole shift, I think, for some people. They
Mm-hmm.
want to be told, and I think there are directors out there that do function that way. They want to just tell
Mm-hmm.
everybody where they go, and that's a strategy, I think you and I are more similar than that. What is your process, Nick? Like when you're going to direct a show, what is your process? Like, how do you start?
Well, I think it really depends on what kind of a show you're doing, for who, where is it, right? Because I've done theater that is Shakespeare in the park, outdoors. If a squirrel runs in the scene, a squirrel's in the scene, right? You don't have lights, everyone's sitting on the grass. That's going to be very different than when we did our pandemic Zoom theater, right?
Right.
And we worked with that space, versus doing a musical on a proscenium stage, or doing an improv show or a show that's semi improvisational, right? Doing Shakespeare or theater for children to watch. Are you working with teenagers in your cast? Are they adults, right? All of that really changes the approach. And I think one thing is I have to figure out what kind of a show do I want to do, and why? Why do I like this? Why does it feel, to sound pompous, but like necessary now, right? Because if I don't think it's necessary, then I might get bored of it at some point, right? I've got to make the audience think, yeah, there was a reason I left my house and I paid money to come and see this show tonight, right? So that has to come across. And then I think I have to really share that with the cast and find some sort of a concept or a are there things about this production that are going to be unique based on what I want the audience to experience or to think about?
Mhm.
Something, it might be just feeling really immersive into the world of a show and losing yourself in a childlike state of imagination. Or maybe it's making people see something that they've seen 1,000 times in slightly fresh eyes, right? Whatever it is, I think that is where I often begin the process. What about you, Pam?
Yeah, I think the same thing. I think I start with the story and the script and say, like, what do I want to get out of this? What is the messages I want to send to an audience? Is it relevant? Does it matter? All those things. Yeah, I think so much. And then or what could I do to this to make it different for people, to get something different out of it? I think you know what this comes to mind is Evita. One of the things that I was really important to me when I did Evita was that I brought a different perspective to it, because I felt like I had only ever seen men direct Evita, including the original, and it was a very male dominated perspective of her life and who she was, and she was just a big bitch all the time we've ever seen her on stage. And I did a lot of reading about her real person, and there was so much more to her than that. And I really wanted people to remember that she was a human, and had her own traumatic experiences and was dealing with her own stuff, and that there were reasons that she was doing what she was doing. And so I really wanted to bring that perspective forward. And so that was just a good example of like looking at a script and being like, you know what, there's another way to look at this. And I think it's important for people to hear this. So that's the first part for me is, is this an important enough piece of information that people need in the world? And then I am just a proponent of beauty and art, and like the world needs that. We just sure do. There's just a lot of ugliness out there, especially right now. But I think it's important that we continue to create beautiful things and put it in the world. So I'm with you. Like first and foremost is like, is it relevant? Is it important? What do I want to say? And then thinking about what is the concept of it and how do I communicate that to my team and my actors? And then how do I create an environment for them to be able to play within that? And look at this one, Nick. All right. Can you see it, Nick?
Yes.
Hi, Ray.
Love and miss you too, Ray.
Yeah. So we're like that's, I think you and I are very similar in our process, I think. And then creating, then the logistical stuff is like working around people's conflicts and creating a schedule that will make sure we can get everything done in time. Mm-hmm. So there's the whole systems part of it too, where you have to create systems that work, that will be sure that we're, project managing the thing so that it's going to get done.
Yep.
And sometimes we're more successful than others. Right?
Of course.
Painting the set right before the doors open. We've all had those. And it's much better when we're not doing that, but it happens, So I think that's part of it too, is just like setting up the logistical pieces of it to make sure that we're all feeling safe and comfortable and confident with the piece so that when we open the door, we know what's going to happen. That's the beauty of it, is actors, technicians locking in and knowing what's going to happen, and audience not knowing what's going to happen. That to me is like perfection, So
I think another thing with community theater, we clearly do not have some massive Broadway budget, right? We clearly don't have an army of professionals, working with us, right? Yes. But I try, and I'm not always successful with this mindset, but I try to face the limitations and think, how can I use those limitations as part of the storytelling, right? Mm-hmm. How can we a bug to an asset, essentially, right? Like the idea of doing the show when we did The Tempest for Theater 444, that was Zoom theater. We are talking in little boxes like this for a whole show, right? So how do we use that as part of the storytelling? Well, we can create movable graphics as backgrounds that we couldn't before. We can create different arrangements. We can do surprise jump cuts. We can have sing-alongs. We can make a live chat right on the side that's interactive and send kits home to people so that they can dress up and play along, and make it feel like a community.
That was such a good decision. Nick directed The Tempest. We sent out, when you bought your ticket, if you bought a party box, and we would send out a whole box full of props interactive with the show so that you could play along with it. It was kind of like play along with us. It was so fun. People were having just a great old time. That was just a great decision to pull people in at a time when we really needed that, especially.
Exactly. And that's what Tempest was about. You've got all these different people separated and stranded on a shipwreck, some with some deep history and axes to grind against each other. And by the end of the show, there's this reconciliation and a community forgiveness. Everyone's brought back together, right? And that was us during COVID, right? We were at each other's throats. We were isolated and separated in our little Zoom windows, right? But hopefully by doing this show, we brought people from across the country into our cast, right? Across the country watching this show, and
And
everybody's playing
national,
along and sending us their pictures at home where they're wearing their costumes and they've got their tropical drinks, and we're sharing that. And by the end of that show, we had one big drunk community watching the show together, just
yeah,
like what was happening in the show, right?
oh, it was
And that
great.
was the moment for it. We needed that at that time. So
Really good.
it was a
Going
fun
back to
experience for all of us.
limitations, though, you're so right about limitations, though. We don't have access to everything that if we could just, gosh, if I could just sit down and like do what I want to do half the time in my head, what's going on in here, it'd be amazing. But I'm like, oh, we can't do that. We don't have that. We don't have that $800,000 piece of equipment that we need to do that. We don't. And so, oh, Shannon, Shannon just said those kits were fantastic.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I mean, if I think if I had access to everything, I'd be dangerous. I mean, sometimes not having those things makes you really much more creative, right? And scrappy. I mean, I this is how I live. We live by this because we don't have our own home. We are constantly trying to figure it out. And we don't have a lot of equipment. We don't own a lot of things. So we are constantly being creative with what we have. And it has made us better artists. It really has. I mean, from my perspective, it has. That's just, what I think. But, and I think about COVID too, when you're talking about COVID, we did your show, and then we also did Daddy Longlegs. And that was actually before your show, was when we were really isolated and we weren't allowed to go anywhere. And I picked the show because there was only 2 people in it and they were writing letters, so they didn't need to be near each other too much. And we didn't have a clue what we were doing. We did not have one clue how to stream a live theater, and we figured it out, and in the best ways. That show is one of my favorites that I've directed because it was just a lovely, lovely show, and people really, really took to it. And it was great. I mean, it was just fantastic. And then after your show, we did Nonsense, and that was when some of us were able to go back to work and do things. And so we did a show where you could come or you could watch it at home, either way. So we had some audience there, and you could also stay home and watch it. So we were doing both at the same time. That was a whole nother thing. So it's just, what do they say? I can't think of the phrase. It's
necessity is the mother of invention is the one I'm thinking of, right? It's
yeah.
truly innovative. And I think it kept this theater going when so many other organizations of every type were sort of stalling and sputtering and questioning their existence.
Yeah.
People were turning to your theater troupe for comfort at that time, right? Knowing you were coming up with something really special that they really craved at that time.
That was worth doing. Yeah, it was. You're correct. That was one of our best years, to be honest with you. And I thought as soon as it happened and we went into COVID, I thought, oh my gosh, we're going to die. This is the end of us. This little company is never going to survive. And that was actually one of our best years.
Really, I think you gained exposure to so many new people who wouldn't have just come out to the show by seeing a poster at the local subway window or whatever, right? I mean, I think that you really gained a lot of fans by trying something really different and reaching them in a different way. I think that was a very cool move. As you're talking about this, it's also reminding me of another thing you thought of as a limitation at first that you turned into this incredible strength back when you directed Rent for Theater 444, in which the only space you had was theater in the round, and you were a little panicked about this. And I was like, Pam, hold on, wait, this is a strength for the material. And then, boy, did you bring that to life in such a beautiful way that people talked about it for years and years afterwards.
I still hear about that show often. People still talk about it. People still want to see it. I still get emails asking me if they can see it. I no, I mean that's no. Will you do it again? No. I
Right.
loved what we did, and I don't want to mess that up. It was perfect. But yeah, that was a scary venture, though. You're right. I was really nervous about that one because I wasn't sure, um, and I wasn't sure that people were going to accept it. You know, because Rent is very iconic and people want to see it a certain way. And Shannon says that was the most magical version of Rent she had seen.
Wonderful. Thanks, Shannon.
Shannon. Uh, yeah, that was tricky, and we had lots of challenges. Remember, Nick, final dress rehearsal for Rent. We stopped at intermission, and I said, "We got to change this all around. We got to put the sound on the other side of the room." And so we moved the entire sound system. It was like chaos.
The
This was
middle of dress rehearsal, right?
middle of
Final
the
dress.
final dress
Yep.
rehearsal, right? We were like, this isn't going to work. We got to move. So, and thank you, Jesus, that happened and that worked out perfectly because that was our final straw. There were so many challenges with that one, but it was a beaut. It sure
Yeah,
was.
you pulled it off. That's for sure.
What was your favorite show you directed?
Whew. Uh, my favorite show I directed was
I know
probably
that's not a
twofold.
fair question
I
because it's
know
kind of
it's
like
really
what's
hard.
your favorite child, right?
Yeah, exactly. Um, One I think was back when I directed a production of Hamlet, right? I love Hamlet. Shakespeare fans love Hamlet, right? And yet I can't think of anyone who's gone to see that show and really enjoyed a performance of it, right? I watched this TV show, wonderful show called Slings and Arrows, where at the end of the season they put on a production of Hamlet and the audience is gasping and they're laughing and they're crying. I thought, wouldn't it be cool to do a show where people actually reacted that way instead of just in theory? But you've got two kinds of audience members: the people who think they know everything about the show and they're just waiting for it to happen and waiting to see it and then judge it against the ones they've seen. And then you've got people who think, I don't think I'm going to understand this. I don't think I want to see this. I don't think I know what's going on. Right. So, how do you make it so both audiences can really enjoy it? A first timer who doesn't really understand Shakespeare walks in and gets completely hooked and engaged and follows it. And the old timer who knows everything goes, wait, I don't know what's going on. And we did the show without intermission. I made a lot of cuts. I made a lot of changes and rearranges, while still giving everyone what they needed, what they wanted from the show. So no one went, yeah, but that was different, or you were missing this. But we had no intermission. And there were many people who came and said, I didn't even realize there wasn't an intermission until we were in the final scene. And then I went, wait, how did this happen? How did we get here? Right. And people asking to like take it on tour and do it in other places. Right. And it was just kind of like, okay, we had gasping, we had crying, we had laughing. Right. We did it. We saved this old, warhorse of a show. Right. So that I think was really fun. And then I think when I directed a high school production of Cats the musical, and
Oh
some
my
people are probably hissing at home right now just hearing the name of it, right? And yet, so many of us, when we were kids, that was the most magical thing that there could have been, right? So, how do you take that show that people say it's just cats running around and make it something more and share that kind of feeling when they did those old trailers from New York City, cats now and forever, and children would be hugging Mr. Mistopheles outside the stage door, right? And go, that's what I want, right? And to bring it to that. And I think again that was a show I think we were pretty successful pulling off. um
I saw that one. It was great. Yeah.
Say so. That was the test.
Yeah.
How
Oh,
about you, Pam? What were some of the favorites that at least come to your mind when you think about choosing
yeah.
your favorite child?
It's so hard because it is like choosing a favorite child. They're all so different. They have their own little lives,
Yeah, absolutely.
their own little processes and people. And speaking of the devil here, Owen, hi there.
Hey, it's Owen.
um, Rent was a thing for me. That was a big deal for me. I really surprised myself doing that show. And then that in turn took me to Sweeney Todd 2 summers ago. And I was really scared of Sweeney Todd. Again, very iconic piece. People really, really want to see that chair. They really want to see that, things happening the way they're supposed to happen. And I took it real far out of the way. And I was scared, up to even people walking in the night of the show and sitting down. And I was like, oh my God, this is either going to go well or people are going to hate this. And they were terrified. And I loved it. It was just great because, Sondheim's like original thought when he wrote that show was that he was writing a horror film. He wanted it to be a horror piece. And Trevor Nunn, who was the first director, didn't want to do that. He wanted to make this beautiful epic tale out of it, which it was beautiful. But that wasn't the initial intention of it. He wanted it to be dark and creepy in a little space. And so that's how we made it. And it was just so neat to watch the audience. I love watching the audience. And that to me is how I measure like success. Like, is the audience engaged in what's happening? Are they understanding and following the story? And are they like entertained, but also like feeling things, and I just remember sitting there during Sweeney and watching people gasping, and it's just their eyes were this big the whole time. I really enjoyed that one. I enjoyed watching the audience on that one. But if I had to pick, I think Next to Normal was probably the moment in my directing time where things shifted for me completely. That was a show that I had always like connected with personally and loved. And I have a lot of feelings about mental health and wellness. And it was a show that I just really connected to and wanted to do it and didn't know what I was doing. And so I remember though, when we got into the theater and things had finally come together, and we put some videos up and we were doing the lighting and it was like, I can't believe this is working. Like, I just can't, like, how did this work out like this? That was probably one of the first times we strayed from the script pretty far as what it's supposed to look like. And, so I think that was a turning point for this organization anyway, about what could we do and what should we do. So yeah, those are just a couple of, I loved them all. I love them all though.
Right. It's kind of just which ones pop into your head at the moment, right?
Right. So the last thing I'm seeing on our list, Nick, is casting.
Ooh.
I always say casting is 80% of the battle.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, not to diminish any of the amazing work that so many other wonderful people put into doing the show, but that moment you get a cast sitting around a table, doing a read through, bringing each part to life all together is the moment when you think, oh, this is real. This is a real show. Look, they're in the room. I found all the people.
I found the
Here
people.
they are.
And everyone's in the right shoes.
Yeah. Exactly. Yep. Because until then, they're concepts and you're hoping they'll show up. But I think at our level, sometimes they're, hey, Brooke, I think sometimes we have to have an idea that we have roughly the people to do a show, right? I mean, and that gets tricky because you don't want your mind so set unless it's a show where you are deliberately and transparently pre-casting certain things, which sometimes is fine, right? But I think if you're not doing that, then you be pretty open. And sometimes people come out of the woodwork and can really surprise you. Someone you never met before, somebody who takes a role and interprets it in a way you had never conceived of, and you go, ah, I like it. Right? What can we do with that? There you go.
And also, like Nick Bessette, that's how you and I met. Oh my goodness. I had picked a wild party because I loved the score and I had the people around me. I was like, I can cast this in my sleep, right? And in walks Nick Bessette and Ray, who's watching, I think, well. And neither of them were known to anybody in the room. And it was just like, what is happening right now? And then the rest is just.
Yep.
So sometimes. Yeah, complete unknowns came in and took both the leads, and it was fantastic. I always say, though, it's important to me to pick the right people for the right shoes, because that is such a huge piece of it. If you have the right people, it's going to come out, right? Mm-hmm. You have to put the right ingredients in the bowl or the bread doesn't cook. Like it's just, it doesn't work if you put the wrong things in. And so, I'm not a magic maker. I can't, directing is not, it's an art, not a science, right? And so mm-hmm. We have to get the right people in the right shoes.
And sometimes I think you have to be open to the idea that there's not one way to do a character, right? Because if you're trying to shove an actor in some sort of a mold that you thought they could fit and it's not working, but what they're doing is, how do you steer it so that it really completely is? And now it's working overall in the show. So that sometimes people can be really surprised. You can make a really unconventional casting choice in certain decisions, right? Where all of a sudden it's a hit and the audience doesn't question it at all, even if it's something they've never seen before.
Right. I love when we're not pre-casting based on type, that was a big deal during Rent too. Like I loved our cast for Rent. We had an exceptionally strong cast for Rent, but it was not as traditional looking cast as a lot of people would have expected. And they were perfect. So yeah, casting is tough. And especially when you're in a community theater and your audition folks include your friends and your family. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky. So I always just stick to what I know the script is requiring. And I just choose what I can see best as I can choose and hope that people can understand. So
yeah, and it's hard, right? Mm-hmm. I think we can't forget to have a lot of empathy for the actors, because I direct and I act in shows, and still if I don't get cast or don't get what I expected to be cast with or something, right, it still feels personal. I still go through all the questions of, well, did they not like me? Am I not good enough? And I know better. I know when you're a director, you're just trying to find the matching puzzle pieces for the other set that you have, right? For what exactly is supposed to be in the picture of this puzzle, right? And not every piece is right.
And you're so right. It is like a puzzle, because sometimes it's not even what you can or can't do. It's what nobody else can do. So, mm-hmm. Or having to match people up with other people and having contemporaries together and it not looking weird. Sometimes it's like, oh, I've got this person and this person could play the same part, mm-hmm. but they would look better with this person than this person. And so it's such a puzzle. It is. It's tricky, and age and all kinds of things. So yeah. Nick, tell me, let's talk about you when you auditioned for Rent.
Okay.
What part were you thinking you wanted when you came?
So I was thinking probably like Mark or Roger, right? I think in real life, I'm a Mark type, right? People always say that. They just sort of assume it. And then when I would tell them I was in it, they'd be like, oh, you're Mark, right? And I'd be like, no, I'm Tom Collins. And they would... Right? Okay, so clearly there are a lot of different things about that, and I had to some extent, even do some soul searching and see if I was appropriating the role and what that meant. And I think that our casting was diverse enough over, right, where I don't feel like I was taking position from somebody else or telling someone else's story, especially since the role was originally written to be a Tom Waits type, who's a white guy, and I love Tom Waits, right? But you know, the chemistry Alex, who played Angel, and I had at auditions, I think we were ready to just start acting and doing some improv, right? We were ready to like get those characters on their feet, and I started finding, with your help, I think my version of who that character was, that hopefully came across really authentic and organic.
It did. It was just funny because I know sometimes people don't see themselves in roles or don't think of themselves as a specific character. And sometimes that happens too, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You all of a sudden you see them in a different, I try to look at people in a different characters that they maybe not typically play. I know some of you know Damon Fletcher. He's such a chameleon for me. I've cast him in young, old, villains, lover boys. Like
Comedy, serious. Yep.
comedy, serious. I mean, he's done so many things because I'm able to. He's such a little chameleon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are people like that out there too that can do whatever. You know. So that's always fun too. But, well, it's been so fun talking to you, Nick. Thank you for doing
It's been a blast.
it.
Thank
Yay.
you for having me, Pam.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to say about directing, kind of wrapping up here?
I think it's a challenging but a really rewarding experience. At times, it can feel a little bit isolating because the cast can build up a certain kind of bond, and even your tech team, and sort of you're not really in either place. But I think hopefully you can set a tone that creates those feelings, and the rewards almost always far outweigh any of the difficulty or stress along the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think directing is my favorite thing in the whole wide world. And I wouldn't change that for anything. I know people have asked me, you know, don't you miss being on stage? And I really don't. I really love directing. I love creating. And I don't think that's something I'll ever be able to give up. So,
Well,
yeah.
we hope not. And speaking of which, you have a pretty amazing season coming up.
Yes, yes. So right now, my team is working with Geneva High School, and we are working on a little show called Singing in the Rain, and that is coming up first weekend of February, and the kids are doing a great job. It's a really tough, that's a tough piece for teenagers, and they're doing a really great job of sticking with it and keeping on task. I mean, it's a lot. So it's going to be super fun. We have a great team. My technical team is going to make it rain. So you need to come to Geneva High School the first weekend of February. That's first. And then we're going to be doing Dear Evan Hansen, and that will be the second week, first and second week of April. And then we'll be doing Amelie June 5th through the 13th and Dogfight August 21st through 29th. So it's going to be such a fun season full of just creative, innovative stuff. And I'm super excited about it because I tend to like to do these new things or old things in new ways. So that brings my heart, does my heart good.
It's a good range of shows and ones that we don't often get to see or haven't had a chance yet to see. So very cool.
And I hope that at this point, people are trusting Theater 444 to create something really wonderful, that no matter if they know it or not, to just go because they're going to see something great. And I hope that at this point, people believe in us enough to know that. So this is our 10th season. At the end of the year, we're going to have a Cheers to 10 Years event where we celebrate all the work that we've done over the last 10 years. So we're excited about that. And again, we're going to continue this Theater Talks series every month. Next month, I'm going to have RJ Raposa, and he's going to talk about lighting design and like what that entails and how that looks and how that goes and, his process. So I'm excited to talk to him about that. And I got to make sure I mention our patrons. We started our new season already this year. We're at about 30% of our goal. Our annual goal is about $10,000. And that helps us get through the year without going under. And right now we're at about 30% of that. We're so thankful already on June 4th to be there. And here is our first initial list of patrons for 2026. We thank them so much. They really carry us through so much. So if you are inclined to donate, please go to our website and check it out. There's a link right there that you can just click and it'll take you to our donation page and you can make a donation and help us keep the arts going here in the Finger Lakes. So yeah, I think that's everything.
All right. Well, I'm really excited about this landmark season.
Yeah, thanks so much, Nick. Thanks everybody for watching. And if you're watching on the replay, you can still comment and let us know if you had things you wanted to share or questions. We're happy to share. And we hope you have a great new year. Come and see us. Come and see us.
Right.
We're excited.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Let me get us out of here. How do I get us out of here? There I go. Okay.